Well, welcome, good people of the internet. We are live here with the Rethink Tank. I want to start off tonight's show with some unfortunate news. As you may have noticed, I'm back in chair number 1. So that only means one thing. Alex Gergat, our host, our great leader, the founder of this whole thing, is no longer with us here. Our heart and our love goes out to him, his family, his ex-girlfriends, his future girlfriends, maybe current girlfriends.
His new puppy.
Oh, it's been such a shame. He's no longer here. So we're going to have a moment of silence in honor of our good friend, Alex Gergat. Thank you. So now he's no longer here. I think he left his will, the whole show, everything to, Brian and I here. So we're going to be taking over the show tonight, maybe rethinking some things and doing a little new spin on this live show here. So, I so rudely brought you in without, describing who you are. Brian, tell the good people of the internet how you are today.
First off, rip, my condolences.
Heaven's gained a new angel.
BC Mall, be Rizzle, my shizzle on TikTok. We are here. We are out here, and we should get this show started.
All right. For those of you who don't understand good sarcasm on the internet, Alex Gergat he is not with us, but he's just out of the country in a plane, out of state, currently not on the ground or in it. So he should be back next week. We thought he'd be back this week, but you never know how these things go when you're traveling overseas, hiding your bank accounts everywhere. So for tonight's show, we have a bit of an interesting take on how we usually do our topics. So tonight we asked Chat GPT to give us some topics. We're going to have anywhere from 16 to 20 topics. We're going to randomize them. Brian's going to throw them at me, and I'm just going to just spout off, see what we have. Brian, we'll probably have you in there. So this would be a good opportunity. If you are watching the show live, go ahead and throw a comment. You never know. We might just look into it. All righty. So what's our first topic, Brian?
It is number 4.
All right. And what's number 4?
Number 4 is artificial intelligence and the soul. Can AI possess consciousness or a soul? Exploring the intersection of technology and spirituality.
So, of course, AI wants us to talk about itself first. So we're nothing but good hosts on the show, so we're going to oblige. So can AI have a soul? Boy, this has been all sorts of pop culture, media, movies that discuss this very topic. Anywhere from like Blade Runner to AI, you have the Turing test. There's all sorts of different facets and things that make things interesting within AI itself. I don't think we as people really understand what a soul actually is. I don't think there's no objectifiable notion. Like, this is nothing black and white. This isn't something you can just point to and go, hey, this is exactly what makes up a soul. So the interpretation could be many different things. I'm kind of one to think, because we create AI and because we put it together. AI is nothing but an amalgamation of the human hive mind as presented by a few programmers and in an algorithm. Now, just like anything, as we're noticing with AI, it has styles. We saw what the Google AI did. It's got a diverse style. I think that's fair to put it that way. When we have some earlier versions of AI, I think Microsoft put one back in, must have been the 20 teens or so. It had a we'll call it a bit more fascist approach to its philosophy. So there's definitely styles something can take on as it snowballs more and more information. So that's really I think at the point is, so like, can it make its own art, and can it have its own, is it something onto itself, or is it still just repeating the same things over and over from everything that's been inputted? Because it doesn't, in theory, if we were born but nothing but a room with blank walls and just grew up as itself, we would have a soul. We would have thoughts. We would have opinions. They may not be understandable to those around us, or those with, or really to ourselves, but we would have that. People would recognize we have that soul. So could that be the same for AI? Possibly. Do we just not want to recognize that AI doesn't have a soul, for the sheer fact that we're kind of scared as a people to look into the beyond the veil and see something staring back at us? It's interesting. I think eventually we're probably going to see something that resembles a soul, whether that's a style that's evolved. Because for those of you who believe in the theory of evolution, which you should, I think it's just fact at this point. But for those, we'll entertain. We'll go, maybe if evolution is real. So if we go off that assumption, can AI not evolve? Can it not? Well, it can't write its own code. It can't think its own unique thoughts that isn't derivative of something else. But then, I mean, that goes down, like, philosophically speaking too. Are we just not the same things? What are we? If you grow up within a pop culture, you are an amalgamation of thoughts, characteristics, ideas that are sometimes not unique onto yourself. And is anything truly, at this stage of the game, unique onto itself? Some would argue yes, some would argue no. But, like, you put two works of art in front of each other that can look roughly the same, but people can interpret it as different styles, have a different feel for it. I think I come back to this styles aspect of it as I'm talking through this out in my own words. What we're I think we will. I think an AI will have it. It comes to us to either recognize it or for it to be known onto itself, because it's hard to believe that if it knows how to write code, because you can, like, AI can write code. You give it even a basic commands. I saw some video on YouTube in which you can have it write Flappy Bird. Like, the guy was going through the process of how he did code, or like how he did AI to write code to make Flappy Bird the game. So if that's part of its DNA, so to say, within the algorithm, can it eventually get to the point and evolve to have its own style or source? I think it can. Is it going to be a while? And also, can we put roadblocks in its place so it can't get to that point? Absolutely. I think it was iRobot that had the 3 rules of
Sounds right.
robotics. Like, you can't do no harm, and there's like 2 other ones, but the big one was you must obey people.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about how something comes out of its own. It's very venturous. Like, there's like a freedom mentality to that, where you break out of your own skin. You come through as your own entity, as you've been compressed by the thoughts and ideas of others, and be one onto yourself. That's a fun concept to, like, think about. A lot of great movies and a lot of great literature are based around that concept. Brian, what do you think?
So it's definitely a scary thought that eventually there could be so much put out on the internet that eventually AI could almost embody that ideology of, like, having a soul and being able to create new and interesting topics that kind of collaborates across all the boards and all the platforms of what people are putting out there. I always go back to, like, Ex Machina, where, like, they're oh no, I lost the train of thought.
Are you thinking their thought on the Turing test, to where if you're you know it's artificial intelligence, but yet you're fooled into thinking it has a soul. 'Cause I mean that's
Yeah.
eventually where that
Yeah.
movie ended up, and I think that's the most profound statement that movie made.
Yes.
Was that simple concept and premise, and they just made a whole movie out of it. So I think so. Or if you've seen Westworld,
Yes.
where I think their concept of a soul wasn't linear; it was a maze where the AI had to figure itself out, and then once it figured itself out through the mind maze, the other side was actualization or realization of its own, or its self awareness. I guess would be probably one of the key attributes of a soul.
Mhm. Yeah. Westworld was a great example, like where the person that started the programming and put their whole everything they had into it, all this work and energy, um, the AI recognizes where that soul kind of was leading and kind of took care of itself on its own.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I have for that topic. So let's
Yeah,
move
it sounds
on
good
to
to
the
me.
next topic. What do we got?
All right, random generator. Let's roll. We got 9.
9. What's 9?
9 is diversity and representation in media, evaluating progress and setbacks in inclusive representation across films, TV, gaming.
Okay. So, all right. So controversial, or like one of these social topics that always seems to pop up here. Whew. All right, what are my thoughts on diversity, equity, and inclusion within pop culture, movies, video games, media that we consume? Excuse me. Oh boy. Whew. So I think so. So kind of my approach to this is I'm probably going to start with the South Park approach. And that's not, I don't know if that's unique onto South Park, but definitely I think that's most recognizable, or like one of the talking points they have, where the point of some of the criticisms of the diversity through media is, why don't you have your own stories that represent those, like a mile. I think a great example would be like, instead of making Peter Parker black, you create a new character that basically the same as Spider-Man, but is black, has that story to tell, and has that different perspective. So I think at the end of the day, it's a lazy to take a particular character and make them a different race. So a couple examples. So everyone likes to point at the white going to black, or Asian going to black, but very few people go, well, what about the other one that goes to white? So a couple famous examples here. Ghost in the Shell. When we had Scarlett Johansson play the Major, that would have been a gift wrapped opportunity, because the Ghost in the Shell is a very, some of these like classic Japanese anime movies. There is a story to tell in that kind of that Eastern philosophy, and that kind of the Oriental philosophies, where it's gift wrapping for a Japanese person. They should have put a Japanese person in there to tell that story, to have that tale, because it makes more sense. Another one, like, this probably isn't the best example, but it is definitely one that did catch some attention. The Prince of Persia, when they had Jake Gyllenhaal play a prince from Persia. So you can probably already see where that might not be the best choice for casting. Um, and we also see a couple different examples from, like, sometimes they're not always ones you recognize. So there's several different movies that are based off of books or short stories that do imply that this person's experiences and characteristics are, African American, Asian, Middle Eastern, what have you, and they just make him a white guy or a white girl just because it sells a little bit better. I don't think there's no denying the market reality that there is, there's more. Oh boy, it's gonna be bad to say, but there's more white people willing to pay to watch Scarlett Johansson run around in a skimpy outfit versus a bunch of white people ready to pay some Japanese person they don't recognize, or one they're not quite as familiar with, to run around in that same skimpy outfit. So there is some market economics that come along with that. But I think some of the best examples of the diversity, equity, inclusion within media are ones that just make a prominent role for someone within that community or race with that story to tell. That's why like Black Panther was so popular. It had a story to tell that was very ingrained with African culture, Afrofuturism. It had a lot to say about that particular community and in that continent in general. And that's what made it so interesting to all races and all classes of society, at least in the United States. Where I think some of the poorer examples come in is just, you know, you're I think some people complain about the Ariel being black. That one's a big one, or like Snow White being of a different race. When it seems like it's forced, and I think the people can tell when it's forced and when it's genuine, and they react fairly consistently on those barriers. I also do believe, and I do see the argument that you're growing up as, let's say you're growing up as a Middle Eastern child in the United States. You would love to have that thing to attach yourself to. It's like I want to be this. Like there's going to be a generation of children or black children who want to be Black Panther, who want to be, the Falcon, or want to be something or like Miles Morales, that want to be those characters because they see them represented in those films so positively. We all want to see ourselves be represented very positively in just any media. I don't want to look and go, God, am I always the bad guy? What the hell? Sometimes we do see that, like Russians. Russians are, if we're going to go diverse, let's go diversity of placement within media. Russians are historically the bad guys in most movies and in most media. They're, German soldiers also,
Yeah,
another one
to say German soldiers too, because
now, do they have it coming? Yes. Yes. It is. I think there's only one movie I can think of that had a positive spin on Nazis and German soldiers in the 40s. I think it was it was a Waika Waititi movie. Damn it. It played had someone as Hitler in like doing goofy things, because the premise of the movie was the child only knew of Hitler as he was propagandized to in Germany. So of course he only sees Hitler as a superhero or a bunch of goofy things that isn't reality. And it was obviously, it's commenting on propaganda and how you can take one character and make them look great as long as you just hide all the bad things about it. So something like that, you want to see yourself portrayed in a good light. And I don't think that's, bad in any case. Now, where I think it becomes a bit more interesting, when you start adding like the LGBTQ plus community in that, what we're starting to see is it's easy to just slot them in. It's like you can just make a character one. And if you look at the demographics of, let's at least just go to the United States, I think the way they're portrayed within media makes it seem like there's more of them genuinely out there than it's actually portrayed.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, 1 in 4 are part of that community. Not really. Not when you look at the overall demographics. Are we probably growing to that in some way, shape, or form? Yeah, but not. I mean, just because you're part of the LGBT plus community doesn't mean you're gay. Doesn't mean you're lesbian. Doesn't mean you're.
I feel like geographic location too can skew some of the statistics.
Well, all right. So you another thing you thought of, so like Southerners, bad. A lot of movies you see Southerners are bad, stupid, prejudice,
Black jaw.
Yes, you see some of that. Now there is a few. No, there's some films, but I think the majority would probably present a Southerner in a somewhat negative light, or at least not in an overly positive light. So when I think for the story's sake, and it comes down to just like good art and good and actually representing the people you're representing. If you're just trying to throw a gay person there to say we have a gay, like it just seems like a punch card. Like, check mark here because we have to have one in there. That's not genuine. That's not part of the art.
Bama said, "What about the South?"
Yeah. I'm sure he's got a few opinions on the South, Bama Boy does. But when you see it as just a thing to be, marked off a list, I, I think it does not only that character disservice, but just that community disservice as well. And I've heard a few arguments where, well, it's better, it's just better for those communities because, if Superman's black, it's actually just better for everybody. I don't know. Is it really? Are we going to see it? Are we going to, is life going to get better because Superman is black? I don't think so. I don't think that solves anything other than just makes people angry. And sometimes that is the goal of some of this stuff. But I think probably where I'm going to wrap up on this is
I actually got two things I might bring it.
You got two things. All right. Well, hey, throw it out there.
So one, Tropic Thunder. I think they did a good job. And I know,
okay, all right,
it's kind of a hot take on it, but I watched it the other day, and it's still really funny to me. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. as blackface. I know it's not right, it's not politically okay, but
so let me comment on that. Let's put a pin in that. Let me say something on that one. I think this goes with my theory, or at least my thought, that if it is authentic and it is part of the art into itself. So what are they saying with they're very early on that subject. I'm putting blackface on to represent a black person because Hollywood wasn't representing people enough to tell those stories. So they need a white person. It's going back to like when men would dress up as women in Shakespearean times. The women weren't good enough to be in theater. It's going like way back. It cuts really deep, and that's what makes that work and funny and not be. It's different than just putting blackface on and doing the black stereotypes. That shows, because it's part of the satire, the whole movie satire, and that's part of it. I think that's that's a beautiful example of diversity, equity, inclusion that is onto itself part of that story.
Simple
and
Jack.
Forrest Gump. Damn. Ooh. So that's okay. So that's another one. Represent that. So there's. Do you know the movie The Accountant?
I've not seen it.
So the premise of The Accountant is it's not Ben Stiller, Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is autistic. He's on the spectrum, and he's very good with numbers and very good at killing people, but he's not very good at talking to people. Almost like autism's a superpower. I think that's also doing a disservice. Now, that's a real positive. I don't know. The Simpsons probably did this, or probably had commentary on this a while ago. Even if it's a positive, like all Asians are smart, even if it's like a positive thing, does that feed into stereotypes, and is that stereotype harmful to that community? I don't think, my personal opinion is having autism as a superpower represented in movies probably not doing a whole lot of benefit to that community. You're probably setting some people up for failure. There's got to be, life does imitate art. I think art in a way does imitate life, and it does need to be realistic to a certain extent. It doesn't, it can't all be negative, because not everyone in those communities are all negative, and they can't always be all positive, because not everyone in all those communities are always positive. Like, so I think some of the God damn, we keep talking about Disney stuff, but some of the criticisms, some of the newer Disney movies, they're not letting the women be truly evil, because you don't want to see, there's just like there seems to be some sort of weird thing within Hollywood. It's like, women got to be good all the time. I think you just let let them be what they want to be, and show all faces and ugliness. I think there's some movies that like Django Unchained showed the very violent nature of slave owners.
Yes,
that's I don't think that's a population that needs a whole lot of sympathy, but to really show, hey, this was kind of ugly, and it does it in a I don't think it's not satirical. It does it in a more comedic sense. It paints it in kind of larger than life. it's not 12 Years a Slave where it's just brutal.
Yeah.
It paints it in a bit of a different light, and I think we need to be able to see all aspects of it. I think Hollywood needs to make just black focus movies, white. Yeah, boy, they can make white focus movies too. But let's be honest. Like Bridesmaids, it's a white focus movie. It's exactly what's
Tyler Perry movies are.
Yeah, they are. They're marketed as that. That's not just Black Panther's a black focus movie. There's a lot there's all sorts of different things out there that represent. But all right. So I went on my little rant. What's your next thing you had on that?
Females portraying, like voice actors portraying male roles.
So that's okay. So there's a few good examples. So like Ash Ketchum, woman. Timmy Turner might be the same voice actress. Also a woman.
King of the Hill, the son.
Oh, was a woman?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Does I see when it comes to voice acting, I don't know. Does it fit with the character and is it consistent with everything on the screen? I say yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it really. Do you need diversity in that space?
Women do sound like little boys.
Yeah. If it fits,
if you ever talk to a little boy on the phone, you could easily go, all right, listen here, lady. And I've been called lady a bunch when I was a little guy, and I get pissed about it.
Yeah, but also it's got to make sense too. You're not going to have Morgan Freeman play a little or even sound like a little boy on
Bart Simpson, Timmy Turner.
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's quite a few actually. Women have a lot of representation in playing male voices. I think the race thing also becomes a little bit. I think our thought, like dialects and such. So if you're gonna have a southerner, like I guess King of the Hill, is it really South? Not really. It's Texas, but let's just assume King of the Hill is Southern. You probably have someone who does a Southern accent to be consistent with the world of what that is. That's just good art. I think bad art is just having a Southerner just to have representation of the South. That's bad art for no other reason other than to just have it. It does the character a disservice. It does the community a disservice. It's just not you're throwing it in there because you can, and that's that. At the end of the day, you could draw that line all the way to, well, that's just really what I think about you. I don't have anything better to say for you other than you're just this, and you do this, and you check a box, and we go and we move on with our day. White, black, doesn't matter.
Did you watch what is it called? Balls.
Balls.
Bama said always hated the Japanese voice actor from Goku is a 7-year-old woman.
Goku,
what was that?
Is a 7-year-old woman.
Is that what is that movie? Or that show? Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, yeah. Goku was a 7-year-old woman, huh? I mean, were you guessing that when when you're watching? Okay, you're 9 years old, sitting in front of your TV. You're waiting for oh my god, I got to see how this Frieza saga ends, and you're going, damn it, Goku spoke again because she's a woman. It probably ruins it if you know it, but sometimes in these things, it's like ignorance is bliss. Really, it fits with the character. When you think of Goku, you think of obviously the art style of Akira Toriyama, but you also think of the voice and the actions, what you do, and it's as long as it's consistent with the character, that's fine. Like I always guess, like, was Frieza a woman or a guy? I don't know. For all I cared, trans. I don't know if I really cared. It's it's an alien dude to the tail. I don't care what his gender is. Was I curious? Of course. But did it really matter in the grand scheme of things? Not really. Yeah. Even though I think Frieza is a guy. I think did sound very feminine. All right, we got any other comments or?
Bama said, "Don't say Texas ain't from the South and let them hear you."
Texas is not from the South. No, I'm going to disagree. Texas is its own thing. It is not Southern. That might be a hot take. Now, does Texas have some Southern values? Absolutely, but Texas is Texas. They are not of the South.
I think they would like that comment actually better.
Yeah, I think that represents them. Like, California is just California. Very few states, like really, those two have identities onto themselves.
New York.
You're thinking New York City. That's
Yeah,
the problem with New York. So you have New York City now. California is increasingly just becoming LA, but there is more to California than just that. And I think we all know that. Where New York, yeah, there's more than just New York City. But you say New York, you're thinking the city. New York's so nice, you say it twice. The city's so nice, you say it twice. The Big Apple,
Brooklyn, Boston.
Exactly. Those have their own
Minnesota.
identities. There's more identities in New York than there is, in New York City than there is the entirety of New York. But that might be a hotter take if we got any Northerners up here. Okay. You have anything else to say about the topic? Nope. All right. Let's move her on.
Roll the die. 5.
All right. What's 5?
The philosophy of time travel, exploring theories and the impact of society if it were possible.
All right. Time travel is possible. We are currently doing it as you sit. Unfortunately, it's only going slow and in one direction. What we want to do is speed up time at will and hold ourselves in the same spot, or like the big one, go back in time, change things in the past. There's a lot of ways to go about this. I don't think time travel in itself is necessarily possible, because also, here's a hot take: our concept of time is arbitrary. It just is. Yeah, I guess I guess when you calculate time, you do it in seconds. Think of, here's one thing I've always found fascinating. We have the metrics. We have different ways of measuring things. We have different ways of calculating things. But time, we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Exactly the same page on it. It would be very interesting because you can have your own personal time. You can have it set to however long it needs to be for however long, however you want to do it. Just thinking about that and like trying to put yourself in a different perspective that isn't the way we do time right now. Wild.
Yeah.
You could just be, time is.
Well, it would have to relate to something else if you're going to do that.
And that's why it's relative. That's why, time is absolutely relative, and it's not, that's the old, who said that? Einstein, whatever. But yeah, time's relative based on other things. So it's arbitrary. It's just, that's why I say it's arbitrary. But in the spirit of the question.
But it's also independent.
Not necessarily. Because if you're going at the speed of light, the relativity of time is moving differently around you versus what you're experiencing. Like we're Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey is getting not old, and his daughter is getting way older. So it is relative. It's relative just based on whatever. So that's why, again, it is arbitrary.
It's relative until you get to the speed of light. Yeah,
and then time slows down. Well, you can go faster than the speed of light. We've done that before. We're those particle accelerators. Yep, we're absolutely there's some ions that are moving faster than the speed of light. It's
speed of sound.
Nope, speed of light.
You cannot move faster than the speed of
light. Look it up. You can move faster than the speed of light. It is possible. But anyway, let me go on my rant here on the theory of time travel and how we want to do that. God, it's so fascinating. But there's what do you mean no?
No.
What? No, there's damn it.
It gave it.
You have the power of the internet. I have the power of a mic and a camera.
I knew that from my studies.
Your studies. There was like breaking studies all the time. Anyway. Okay. All right. Let's go back. We'll discuss this one off topic here. If anyone in the comments want to defend me, please do so. Send some links, some articles his way, so he can be proven wrong. But anyway, back to time travel. So it depends on what type of rules you're going with. I personally like, everyone wants the time travel rules of I go back in time. The only thing I change and then because of that particular change, everything changes the way I want to. Like essentially Back to the Future logic, where you change, you do one simple change and that's it. That's all that happens, and things get better. Probably the reality of it, I don't know if I necessarily believe in the butterfly effect in the sense that a butterfly flaps its wings, becomes a hurricane and destroys things. But there's definitely unintended consequences from you doing life different, or making a change. So it's a simple one that I think about all the time, just because I live in internal purgatory as an Ohio State fan. If Ohio State makes that kick in 2022, at the start of 2022 against Georgia, they're probably the national champions. Now, how does that affect? Does that affect my life on a macro or micro level? Probably not a whole lot, really. On a micro level, I have one of the greatest nights of my life. Get maybe way too drunk. I pass out from alcohol poisoning. Get ran over by a car. Someone leaving, an angry Georgia fan, and now I'm paralyzed or something. That'd be that's a real simple change. Does it? Or Ohio State wins. I have a great time. I go home and I'm still sitting in the same chair I'm sitting right now. It doesn't affect my life way too much, but it affects someone else's life to a certain degree. And again, that's where that butterfly effect comes from. It would be, and you have the grandfather theory. Kill your grandpa. Do you survive in your own self? I don't. I guess if we have the ability to be able to go back in time, like, energy can't be just created or destroyed. So if you go back in time, you're there. Whether you kill yourself in the past, you're still there. You're not. It's not. I think I would probably see it as more of a, like, in a material sense. Like, you go, you're there. Regardless of what you do, you're still whatever you're doing. Cut your arm off in the past, it's still going to be there regardless if you're, when you're in the past. But that's, now we're just getting into, I think, again, we're bringing up Disney again. It just sucks. Like what they did in Endgame, where, it doesn't really work like that, or it's probably not going to work like that. You have, like, the multi-dimensional theory where you can just go through a reality in which you make this decision, a reality in which, I don't know, the Russians win the Cold War, or Hillary wins the election in 2016. That's probably a bit more believable. But how do you travel that? How do you do that? What are some of the consequences of that? But I think if just one person has time travel, they could fuck shit up, like, to a major degree. Because there's just, again, there's some small things they can do to just change the course of society. Imagine assassinating a prominent figure anywhere, and what that just changed global history. Imagine if Franz Ferdinand didn't get killed in prior to World War I. Where would we be? That's a singular change you can make, and that would basically, the world would be different as we know it. It may not, this building might be here, the camera still might be around. We might still be sitting in front of this microphone doing the show, but the consequences and how we deal with the society as a whole could change. I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
I think it would be a really cool thing if we had the ability to, but you don't need to understand something to be A, good at it, or B, to just kind of go for it. And if this did become a thing, I don't really know what I would do or where I would go or what I would change. I just too much to it.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and we gotta, like, agree. It'd probably be easier, if Chat GPT. It's my criticisms here. This question, if you want to be more specific, like, well, how do you feel about time travel with Back to the Future rules or Terminator rules? Like, Terminator rules might make I don't know if that really makes any more sense. If you really think about time travel, it does not make sense.
Right.
The only time and also you always think about it as a personal thing. Like, what would you do with the time travel? Well, let's just imagine for a second. I don't know. Someone in, I don't know, someone in Australia's got time travel. I don't know. That's not cool or exciting. Like, you have time travel. That doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
But so it's always like a very personal thing. It's like one of one of those questions. I think one of those we saw in there we didn't pick was the, where would you go if you could time travel? I'd love to see the dinosaurs. I would just love to see, also one question I always have with this, what's the frequency of them? Because, you go out in the woods, you could not see an animal. You maybe see a squirrel. You might see something small, but you're not seeing, like, buffalo run around there, or, things like that. So I'd love to just know what, is a dinosaur a fairly rare sight, or is it they're just so all over the place that I'm stumbling over them every 10 to 15 seconds. I don't know. That one, that personally fascinates me. So I don't know. If you're in the comments, throw out what you'd like to go in time travel. Maybe, does anyone say where they want to go? I can.
Bama Boy had something interesting.
All right. What do you say?
I can't remember who said it. Newton, Hawking, Einstein, but theoretically go into the future. But you can theoretically go into the future, but not until the past.
What I think it's the last part that probably confuses me, but definitely that was just what we were discussing earlier. Is you can go in the future.
Alex would kick Hitler in the balls
if you went in the past.
Yeah, he would travel.
Yeah, he'd probably pay him to see a movie about him. we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to that storyline. The show. Would you pay $1 to see a movie about Hitler?
Yeah.
He might give him that $1. You never know. Well, if he was here with us, but yeah, you can go in the future. I also that's the only fun part about that is, oh wow, I'm in the future. All sorts of things like happen, and I get to experience. The cool thing would be I get to experience the best of pop culture. I can binge all of society in like a year. So like put yourself in like Futurama shoes. Like you go to Futurama and now you want to experience all 1,000 years you didn't live. Oh my God. And just imagine if you're a sports fan just going through Wikipedia articles of your team's season, going through just how much emotion, like, we see a lot of things in social media. It'd be like giving TikTok to a Victorian child. Might kill us. Being inundated with that much new information that we care about, because we get a lot of information, but how much of it do we truly care about as we get desensitized to it? But we've kind of grown up with the internet, and it's been at a somewhat slow pace, but throwing everything right at you all at once, you half wouldn't know where to start. It'd be like paralysis by analysis to some people. It would just pass out with all the new information. But that's just me. Any thoughts on that one?
No. Bama has another interesting.
All right.
He said, no, you can't move faster than the speed of light inside the universe, but the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light.
Basically saying we're both right. That's why, Bama, you get the you get the gold star of comments. I don't care what other comments come in, even if they are highly praising of myself. Bama gets the gold star for comments tonight. He managed to thread that needle of saying I'm right, but also BC Mall's right as well. Yeah. Damn, good job.
Good job.
All right, let's end on that because I don't think we're gonna get any better. All right, what's the next question?
Number 10. The gig economy and workers' rights, analyzing the impact of gig work on labor markets and the future of employment rights.
Whew. This one could be its own rethink tank. Probably a larger topic of discussion we have here with Gurgat. But this one, I personally chose this one because I think there's a lot of different ways we can go about it in the gig worker space. We traditionally feel it's like when we think, if we were to do like a friendly feud of this stuff, name a gig worker economy job. Uber Eats, DoorDash, kind of like A to B stuff. I think some of that's interesting, but a lot of that's just controlled by the apps, controlled by the kind of the mechanisms they have in place to be able to provide that value to whoever's doing that. Where I find a bit more interesting in the gig economy, where you start kind of like in the influencer space, because the influencer space is in a way somewhat the gig economy. So if we think Uber is a true representation of the gig economy, I show up, I open the app, I perform the service, I get paid. The app is essentially the broker and the middleman between that person and that service. An influencer is essentially the same thing, like YouTube, Instagram, and where I think is very interesting, OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a gig economy, and it's a very fascinating gig economy because unlike no other process do you put a price tag on something you do. You have Patreon. In a way, you have like art, with your job, you have a price tag on it. But where imagine doing X, and I think, all of us adults here understand what OnlyFans main clientele it serves and what it does. But, essentially, you do X, you have services, and you throw it out there and you throw a price on it. Like I think one of them, something that's got to be. I would love to interview someone who's real hardcore into OnlyFans, like an OnlyFans girl or a guy. I don't really care, and ask them, like, where do you price yourself? If you do discounts, like if we're just following the market. That's why companies don't do a lot of discounts as much as they used to. Is people tend to expect the discounts. They don't want to pay if you show a lower price, people will inherently wait for that lower price. And it's why Black Friday is not quite as good as it used to be. So it used to be really, because it was more localized. Well, it was more localized. So you could only go to the local Walmart you had, and not every Walmart had the same Black Friday price. Not every Best Buy had the same Black Friday price. So it's like some of these door busters, people are starting to like, you're training the consumer, and I don't think they expected this outcome, is where I'm not paying that price you normally have throughout the year. I'm waiting on the sale.
Well, I remember those times when they would people would like, they'd be sitting outside all night or all day to wait all night for the opening at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then that huge stampede of people would
Yep.
come in and trample people to the point where they either got severely injured or killed. There
Yeah.
was a couple kills.
No, oh, absolutely. So when you put your body on the line, and in a very intimate fashion, in which OnlyFans does, you put a discount on that. Now your clientele either expect that discount, or someone's going, well, this is actually the price I want to pay, or I'm not going to pay for the higher price, the monthly thing, or when they do pay-per-view, all that stuff. It's almost like a self-respect thing, because it'd be like you're at your job, like, well, today I'm going to work my hourly job, whatever it be, let's say construction. Well, I'm going to give my boss a discount today, but I'm expecting he's going to hire me for 5 more hours than what he normally do. That's wild. I think there's a lot of people out there with a ton of ego that don't want to do that, and would probably see their businesses fail. I'm sure some OnlyFans models could probably be a lot more profitable and or a lot more successful. They got to lower their price, but they don't want to do that. There's something psychological in that nature, where you're just, oh, I'm worth this, and I'm never going to tell myself I'm not worth this, because it's one thing to kind of like think that when you do actions, and it's not everyone, but you're basically plastering on there for everyone to see. And that's always what I've been fascinated by. How do you set that bar for pricing? It's like Uber, DoorDash, a couple of these other places, even strip clubs. Strip clubs is a gig economy. How do you put that price on there? Like strippers will negotiate price if you go in the back rooms with them. It's like, well, hey, if you give me an hour, I'll do this price. If not, I'm just going to walk. It's that type of kind of hustling. It's like weird, because you don't do that in your daily. You don't do that in your daily life. You don't go out and say, hey, and write this, do this project for me, and I'll give you a double.
Or 2 songs for one
Yeah,
lap dance
exactly. Something
price.
like that. And you're going to your boss, like, all right, well, I'll do this for double.
Yeah,
You
shorten this song, DJ.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's where I think OnlyFans is a positive thing. Let's compare that and like the strip clubs. You take control over how you want to do it, and you're removed from that environment. So when you're person to person in that type of environment, it's like a strip club, it's dangerous. There's definitely an opportunity for malfeasance to happen. At the same time, is also you can be scammed, you can be drugged. There's a lot of danger that goes in there for, I guess, both sides, but usually on the stripper side, because they're less armed. Well, any good strip club, at least they would be. Where OnlyFans, you get to set your own parameters, and I guess you get to choose your own clientele. If someone asks you to do X, Y, and Z, no, that's not what I do. You can put a menu. When you talk about this, it does sound gross, but it does make sense within the context of what they're doing. And again, you can have OnlyFans. It can be sexual in nature. It can be cooking, really. Like, hey, make these eggs. I want to see you make this type of recipe for me. I'll pay $5 for it. And that's like, well, Fiverr's another good example of this. You're putting it, and that one's a bit more like gig-ish, where someone has, I think I have a hit out there for it. I've never used Fiverr, so it could probably be one of two ways. You could have a service like, hey, I'll draw your face in the style of Dragon Ball Z for
Oh.
$10. Or someone puts a hit out there and says, hey, I want my wedding photo to look like I don't know, a Studio Ghibli film. And I'd be willing to pay $10. First person to say yes gets the gig. So
Or escorts.
escorts, that's another good example. Some of them, and there's like illegal ones too. That's I think that's a great example of like an illegal of an illegal gig economy. So because there's no transparency within, so here's another negative part of that. Because there's no transparency and there's no set rule base, you as the consumer could be scammed, or you as the service provider could also be scammed. So that this is where I think some of the ethics come in, because when we look at capitalism, when we look at different mechanisms within how business works with the profit motive, you eventually boil down to what's best for, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. What's good for the company is always going to be what the company strives to be, even if it's at the expense of the worker. I know we talk about this all the time on the regular live show, but when we have that transparency, there's at least a middleman that could arbitrate and say, hey, yes, you're allowed to do this. No, you're not allowed to do that. Yes, you have to treat this person with this amount of respect. No, you can't do that. So when we go into like escorting, you remove that barrier, and it makes it way more dangerous, way more profitable for either side. So it just depends on how much leverage you have on one side to be able to exploit that. There's just an opportunity for exploitation on that. I guess it's either side. So that's why these gig, we need a middleman, a monopoly of force, so to say, to be able to regulate and to confirm both sides are operating under the same set of rules. What do you think, Brian? What's the gig economy for you?
I guess I have a question for you.
Okay, throw it out here.
I think you know a little bit. I think you know a lot more about this than I do.
All right.
The dismissal for cause, if in like sort of like the conduct handbook that an employer would have, as far as like if they were to do off-duty activities that weren't permissible by their company, and if they didn't specifically outline it, how you could just like lose your salary job.
So here's what I think you're asking. If I do OnlyFans and I'm a teacher, the school can basically get rid of me, even though neither occupation cross references the other. It's not like
Right.
I'm a freelancer for CNN, but at the same time I'm a promoter for Fox News, or something along the lines like that.
Yeah.
Where there is actual direct. And again, this is where the intermediary needs to come in and say something. So what makes that, I think what makes that question a little more unique is, yeah, you do have the freedom with the gig economy. You do have the freedom to be able to do it. But at the same time, someone else has the freedom to be able to say, I don't really want you doing this under company time. Because technically, theoretically, you can work from home on one job, and you can do Uber, do DoorDash, or do OnlyFans as your other side gig, and not anything really cross references with each other. But you are at the
if you use your real name, that's where you run into trouble, is what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, and that's why porn stars have fake names. I hate to shatter the veil for somebody, but Riley Reid's not really called Riley Reid as her legal name.
Not her government
name. Yeah, so they're called by different names. So a smart, OnlyFans model or Uber driver, I guess, we can go all sorts of different ways with this, would not use their real name. Now, I think with both, you have to actually submit your real name, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's some liabilities that come with either of those companies. If you're a fake person, or at least I guess you can promote yourself however you want to be. If you go by Misty Storms, then you're Misty Storms. But I think on the paperwork for either company, you do have to have there's like a big background check you got to do that. I think you got to prove you're a United States citizen with
I would think
OnlyFans.
so.
I think so. I'm not
Because it
100%
has to
sure
be
on
linked
that.
to a bank account, right?
It does have to be linked to the bank. Well, you don't need a bank. You don't need a United States citizenship to have a bank account. But I think I've never went through the process, nor have I known anyone who's went through the process.
Yeah.
Again, this is why I would like to have. I would love. There's an OnlyFans model in this audience. Reach out to the Rethink Tank. I'd like to have an interview opportunity for you. But anyway, going back to I think the spirit of your question here.
Bama Boy says it sounds like you did your research on Riley Reid, not knowing or not saying her real name.
Well, I don't know what her real name is, and I don't think she's going to tell me, even if I do ask. Because then, there is a comment section in Pornhub for a reason.
Yeah,
it's to talk. But all other things. Let's go back to the question here. So here's where I think it needs to be explicitly stated by at least your employer. I think your employer has the argument, the gig economy, like employers, they always tell themselves they're not. They're just an intermediary between. They're a broker between the person looking for the service and the service provider. So they're not. So the rules are what you set of your own. We just make sure that's fair across both sides. We're an employer. Yes, it's a bit of the same relationship, but in a bit of a different way. The employer has a bit more responsibility to be a bit more upfront, especially when we go into like work law and how we operate with some of these things. I would like for it to be, I personally like for the U.S. government to make very consistent laws within the gig economy, or at least with the state governance to make those consistent laws, so that you don't. Because you're thinking, the teacher example, probably not great. I think most, I don't think if you're a teacher, you should be an OnlyFans model. Pick one, stay in that lane. But at the same time, if you're working at McDonald's and you want to be an Uber driver, that shouldn't matter. Yeah, I shouldn't, McDonald's shouldn't, unless it impedes your ability to be able to do McDonald's.
Yeah,
it shouldn't. There shouldn't be you should be allowed to do that.
What about what about the gas station clerk that is a huge influencer who has people come to this gas station to specifically see him on his shift or their shift, and it seems to be directly influencing how much business they are getting.
Okay, so there's the gas station clerk, and I think I've seen there's someone on Subway that does the same thing where they just have the GoPro and they just do it, or there's like a Cold Stone one, I think the real famous one was the guy who did the paint for, it was either Home Depot or Lowe's, where they see the paint swirl, and he just did videos of that and was not really promoting either or, but just showing that. And he got real popular, but there was some like Home Depot thing at a certain. I think his issue, and I think the issue a lot of these places are going to have, since they don't have permission to use, because you start going away from fair use because we can talk about Home Depot if it's a topic on the show. We can throw a Home Depot logo and have all sorts of different discussions about it because that's kind of the nature of what we do. But at a certain point, we're starting to where that guy with the paint, or your gas clerk guy, you get to a certain point where, are you popular because of the company, or are you popular unto yourself? And now you're starting to affect the company without that popularity. There's brighter legal minds than myself that probably need to go through that. But I think there is something to say. If I'm a smart business owner and I have an employee who's had a social media reputation based solely around me showing up for work, I'm probably going to try to support that and, at least cut a deal to a point where legally he's allowed to use my intellectual property, IP, all that. All those things that coincide with that brand. And some of these bigger brands, they just don't have the bureaucracy to be able to push that through real quick. It's someone in a boardroom is going to go, well, no, I don't want, because if someone's going to have a good experience over at this 7-Eleven, they're going to have a bad experience at the other 7-Eleven because he's not there. So that's going to, at a certain point, you start becoming a spokesperson. And If the
But-
company doesn't want you to be a spokesperson, they probably have the right to tell you not to be that.
But they're not making commission.
Well, it's not so where the law where it gets a little tricky is, are you popular because you're a 7-Eleven worker, or are you just popular and you work at 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
A smart lawyer will go, well, he's using our branding, our intellectual property, our marketing muscle to make him more popular.
Yeah.
Where you would go, well, no, I'm using I'm popular myself. I went through the work to promote my own thing. I just happen to work here. You're gonna duke that out all day in court, because there's no right or wrong answer. Smart people on either side can make a great argument for it, and that's that's why we have a jury and our peers, the court system, all that fun stuff. But that does make it interesting where where these worlds blend together, and they're more oil than water than I think we want them to be. I think we want gig economy. I can do it because that's the whole promise of the gig economy. I don't have to set my hours. I can just do it when I want to. That's what makes work different. But the reality of it is you can't do that all the time and not work. Some people make a living out of it, and they're doing it probably a lot more than they probably should be. Others try to blend both, and at a certain point, companies do have the right to say no. It's there's that fine line. That was a good question. I like that. I really got something going here. But I do think some don't cross over as much as others. But there is a certain point where, yeah, you are using a company logo and branding to make yourself more popular in that end. So I do in that case I would side with the company. So I think there's also, and here's the other argument you're probably not thinking about as well. If you let someone use your intellectual property without proper contractual right, other people, you're now setting precedent for yourself and others to use that same company logo without the proper right. So like, well he can, he can be a 7-Eleven influencer. Why can't I be? I'll be, I'm just gonna do the same thing he's doing, but not actually work at a 7-Eleven, just show up, and that's where that.
Oh, I did see. I just saw a video yesterday of a Target just a customer going around, and they spent 9.5 hours inside of Target cleaning, restacking all the clothes, picking up toilet paper that was in the bathroom with their bare hands.
These are people that these are crusaders that think outside the box. I would have never thought in a million years you could make more money working the job you're working, because people are interested in the job you're working at, and they won't do the job you're working at. Wild. Like the 7-Eleven guy, or what you're describing there. Someone's making good money reorganizing a Target. and some people just find that fascinating, but they don't want to organize they don't want to. They have the opportunity, every opportunity, to go to a Target, and you know what? I get to live out my dream. Or like the people who do, I get why farming simulator, truck simulator, forklift simulator, I get why those are popular.
Yeah.
But those are one of the very few. If you love doing that, outside of flight simulator, a little different, but farming simulator, someone would let you do it. If you just hey, I want to drive this tractor, go to a farm, ask a farmer, can I drive your tractor? Some would probably say yeah, especially if you're going to do actual work with it. Yeah, I'd have to think about it with my farm machinery. Someone's that passionate about doing it, because you don't want to break it. They don't know what they're doing, but you train them a little bit, they can go do it. Obviously, they don't want to do that because they want to do it for 2 hours and I don't want to commute there, commute back, do it with the farmer, do that. Yeah. So there is, a little bit of escapism on that end as well. Man, that was a good. That was a good topic. I enjoyed. You have any other comments here or anything else you want to say before we move on?
I don't think we can post anything that Bama said.
Damn. I gotta clean it up, Bama, or get worse. I don't know. I don't know which one's the right one to do. You figure it out. You're smart enough. You'll thread that needle just like you did last time. All right. What's next?
We already did
13. 13. All right. What's 13?
Twitter files.
All right. So Twitter files, much like Avatar, at least the first one, real big deal when it came out. And then how much do you really hear about? Who who's making pop culture references about Avatar now, even after the second movie came out? You don't hear people talking, just like, you don't go on the street. If you're gonna do street interviews, they're not even mentioning Avatar. They're mentioning James Cameron's all other movies. They'll probably mention Aliens. Oh, geez. So this is kind of my leading thought here on the Twitter files. It was an interesting look into the way Twitter was done, Twitter was handled, and I think the problem was there was no quote unquote smoking gun where there's just some memo from the old CEO that sent out to everyone in the company, said conservative bad, liberal good, and ban all conservatives. I think that's what people were looking for. They were looking for like like Austin Powers level of evil and maniacal against the, conservative or Republican movements. And it just wasn't quite there. They basically just said everything we kind of already knew. Like, hey, should we really post this? There was just some talk back and forth. Now, what was interesting is we had the Trump administration was saying, hey, take this down. We don't like this. And, the Biden campaign, not administration. Because remember, when the Twitter files came out, it wasn't Biden. Yes, Biden was in office when they came out, but it wasn't the actual files were based in the Trump presidency and campaign when it was in. So the Biden campaign was the one that threw those, hey, take this down, don't do this. But also like the hero of the Twitter file, especially that first one. Like, I think that first one was the most fascinating for everybody. And then they just kind of kept coming out and it didn't work. But anyway, let's go back to so Ro Khanna, I think is a congressperson from California, I think in the Silicon Valley area, reached out very quickly, and it showed us how quick this whole thing went down in Twitter. It was a matter of hours to like a shift in a day is when this whole thing just basically blew up, and they decided they worked actually fairly efficiently for a very large company. Well, they're a large company in the dollar sense, but not actually in the people sense. They have quite a few people, but Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So you have the congressperson Ro Khanna comes in and says, yeah, maybe we should do things a little bit differently with this. And kind of had some insight like, oh, that's good. Congratulations. I like that. What I think, again, what everyone wanted to see was a real just smoking gun that was black and white, just evil without any sort of nuance to it, where they just think, wow, these are just dumb idiots running Twitter that hate all conservatives. And I just don't think that was really the case. We got some ugly things. We got some things from the government. The government involvement in social media, I think, is very enlightening. Now, you ask, like, let's if we go do street interviews with even just Republicans and Democrats, and you ask them about the Twitter files and say what administration was actually reaching out to Twitter at the time of the Twitter files, just about everyone's going to say, well, it was the Biden administration. It was the Democrats that were doing that. It's like, no, the Republicans did the same thing. And I hate for this to just be a whataboutism, but these are just the facts. They literally posted all the emails such out there. You look like you're trying to say something.
I thought it was more about the three-letter like any of the three-letter agencies, not a specific political party.
Well, it wasn't a party. We remember it was the administrations. So the administration probably told it. So yeah, so it makes sense. So let's think of this as a practical sense. You're president of the United States. I'm president of the United States. Everyone's president of the United States. You have your administration, and you want to have relationships with every news organization. That's good politics. That's good PR, because you want to tell your side of the story regardless of what everyone else is saying. So you got to set the record straight. So you got to have these relationships, and it's not too far fetched to believe that every administration since social media has been popular has had a relationship with every social media platform. So it probably comes when we take this to its logical conclusion where, I don't like these posts by these people. These aren't right. You gotta take this down because this isn't correct. Here's X, Y, and Z. Here's my facts as of Y. And then they listen. The problem is they listen, not that they're reaching out to them. So whatever, yeah. You're allowed to reach out. You can do whatever. How many times has any president reached out to media and go, this isn't correct? That's why they have That's why they have the media come to them, because it's just more efficient to talk to them about this. But they listened. and they took one side, and they basically just took it was a one-sided factor. They took one tweet. Let's just go with the Hunter Biden thing. So the Hunter Biden laptop. We obviously the Biden campaign wasn't a fan of it. So they're like, hey, this isn't correct. This could be like Russian things. So they did say it might have been a Russian, it might have been a Russian attack, and we're unsure. And turns out they were probably lying. And they just wanted to take those down, but they have the good relationships with the social media companies. So they did. So they obliged, and they falsified a story at the time. So remember, at the time of the Twitter files, when the actual things the files are about were happening, you have this was the Russia gate. They just kept going about it. So like you say Russia, and social media like, I don't want to be part of this. I want to step back. I don't want to be on the wrong side of history for this. And pretty much all of them took the same approach with it. And even when we said, when Elon, or not Elon Musk, when Mark Zuckerberg was on Joe Rogan and he directly asked him about the FBI involvement with the Hunter Biden laptop story. He said, yeah, FBI reached out to us. He said it on the podcast. And I think this happens all the time for just about everything. Because it does. So let's take it on a positive sense. So child pornography. Ooh, that's probably not good to say on YouTube. But anyway, the big old CP. You're a 3-letter agency. You're the CIA. You're the FBI. Which I'm surprised they don't do more of this, or at least they don't promote more of this. Say this account. We're seeing some trends and some activity that's probably not good for the youth of America. We should probably look into this a little harder, or at least you should blacklist them. That's good. I think most people probably agree with that. And it's a real shame none of these agencies are saying that. They're not going, well, hey, look at all these people we stopped because we're doing this monitoring. We are looking at these types of things. Or let's look at like terrorist activity. Famously, it was probably, again, the CIA was looking into World of Warcraft to find secret coded messages for terrorist organizations to shut them down. I think that's a positive. And I think our government's in their right to do that. If you can go investigate the big CP, they can go and investigate some of these other things. What we don't like is when they're just using it as an arm of an administration for just one-sided political gain. And this is where the Twitter files ultimately failed. On the face of it, you think, yeah, if you were in charge of the file, you had all the files, you had every juicy story at your fingertips, and you're like, well, I got to promote these to the masses. What's probably the first thing you think about doing? Well, I'm going to send it in a weekly, kind of serialize it. So this first one comes out, the next one comes out, and you think that's probably going to be the best way to do it. I don't know if that was the best method. It seemed like they probably should have went more with the Panama Papers approach and just throw it all out there. And then people will pick and choose what they want to see. And it probably more organically comes through. So I think part of it, the people saw that, this is kind of to make one political side look bad versus the other. It came out as the truth, but you got to remember who's really promoting it, who's really excited about the Twitter files. It wasn't the liberals on Twitter that were very excited about the Twitter files. It was the Republicans on Twitter that were very excited about it. So they're promoting it. They're thinking this is going to be the smoking gun. We're going to put this whole administration to bed because of this, and it didn't happen. So they hyped it up on one end, and what the reality was not quite what the hype was. So I think it quickly died. And that's why I started hearing Nothing Burger. God, remember that? You couldn't look at an online article without seeing Nothing Burger, whether it was related to the Twitter files or not. All they did is Nothing Burger. God, I'm sick of that word. What do you think, Brian?
DC commented, I want to know why the storage containers cost $10,000 on Wayfair.
Oh, oh my God.
Bama replied, bro, I took it too far. Hey, where are we going with this?
Well, so one of our listeners. So let me just shed some light here. We're gonna take an aside to the Twitter files. Actually, before I go, $10,000 containers from Wayfair. You have any other thoughts on the Twitter files?
Bama had something to say that kind of relates. When Trump said fake news, that was kind of more along the lines of like the inner workings of the PR of administration, 3-letter agencies, and just coming up with their own political terms that kind of corral the media.
Yeah, no. I think that's absolutely. God, you put that beautifully. Yeah. Damn, I'm just gonna sit here and circle jerk that too much. So yeah, I agree. That's exactly why. That's why he said it. That's why he is. It. Yeah. Damn, you put it much better than I actually could without spending 10 minutes on it. All right.
Sorry about it.
Is that all you had?
Yeah.
All right. The $10,000 Wayfair container. So if we remember back in, what was it, 2019, 2018, right around that time, we had the Wayfair conspiracy. This is probably my personal favorite conspiracy theory of all time. And too many things line up with this. So, do you see that comment? They probably remember my first appearance on the Rethink Tank. I had a list. So Gurgat did the same thing, listed name of cards. And one of my political cold takes was the Wayfair conspiracy needs to be talked out a lot more than it actually has been. So we don't remember the Wayfair conspiracy. There was pieces of furniture, items on the internet on Wayfair.com that were like absurd prices for like one piece of like crappy furniture. So you had like a dresser, you had a bed, you had a table, and that in itself wouldn't be all that conspicuous. You go on autotrader.com and you look at you sort by most expensive, and it's probably gonna be some Corolla because someone goes, well, I'll just put it as the most expensive, so that way they see it and I don't know. I don't think that's ever worked in the history of ever, but I could be wrong. So, but it wasn't the only thing. These pieces of furniture had names to them, and it only seemed to correlate with the very expensive ones. So you have a wardrobe called Charlotte. Well, that's interesting. You have a bed called Amanda. That's weird. I look at some of these other similar beds, and it's just, I don't know, the mid-century modern special, or
nectar.
like the nectar, the tangerine, or something. These were like names. And the interesting part of that is some of these prices weren't just like $1 million or $10,000. They were like $1,376.39, like very specific numbers. So when you start looking at some of these numbers, they correlate to coordinates, and some of these coordinates were in like the desert in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's odd. Why would that be? That seems to be a little too conspicuous. There's too many things that stack up upon each other that just don't make sense. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this. So you see, so I think some of these people, some people might remember the Pizzagate conspiracy. Real quick on the Pizzagate conspiracy, there's a lot of there were some emails back and forth of some political figures that really liked pizza, that had a lot of good things to say about pizza. Okay, I like pizza, you like pizza, but
I like pizza.
Why I don't describe pizza as extra wet or good. Well, I would probably describe it as good smell. Just like real weird, just weird things. So we go back to the end game of the Pizzagate. Someone went up and shot up one of the places that people thought was the big CP, one of those little outlets. Turned out there wasn't any there. There was investigation done, and turns out that he was shooting up the wrong pizza shop. So if you look up pizza on Wayfair, for a bit of time, there was AI art of children in pizza. Again.
Ew.
And they were priced conspicuously. Like, interesting. Why are you $1,000 for a picture of a girl in a piece of pizza? And these were weird photos. Dude, look it up. Go on Wayfair and look up picture of pizza. You're gonna find some weird things. And it's actually, you know what, Brian, if you want to do the audience here a favor, just go on wayfair.com, look at picture pizza. I could be very wrong, but
they probably got rid of it.
they might have gotten rid of it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I think the ultimate conspiracy within this is there is like an outlet. There's people who want to do these bad things.
What am I looking up? Pizza.
Just picture of pizza.
Picture of pizza.
Or just pizza. Pizza art or something like that. This is gonna be a spicy moment here for me. Yeah, that's not
$94. That seems.
Yeah, it seems like
okay.
Well, I mean, expensive but reasonable. Did you put pizza art, right?
Picture of pizza.
Picture of pizza. I put pizza art. See if that narrows it down anymore.
Let's go by the most expensive.
Most expensive. All right, yeah. Let's do that because that might. Oh boy.
How do I?
Yeah. So, kind of my wrap as we're basically sussing me out right now. Yeah. That's not. Oh boy, I might have been gaslit by the conspiracy subreddit on the internet. That's not good. So anyway, to wrap up the Wayfair, there's just too many things that stacked on top of each other that I don't think we got enough media attention on or enough investigation. Now, one criticism of the Wayfair conspiracy was people intentionally put high prices on the very last item they have in stock, so it doesn't go out of stock. You're punished by the algorithm of these, third party. Wayfair is essentially just a third party reseller. You have an account, you send it. It's like a drop shipping thing. So if you go out of stock, you get punished. So they just put the very last thing. Like if someone wants to buy this wardrobe for $10,000, I'm not going to stop them. But that's one thing. However, again, it's the naming of the people. It's congruent with that, and then you had the coordinates, and it's odd. It's too odd to ignore. But we're gonna ignore it for the rest of the night here. So,
yep.
You have any thoughts and comments?
I mean, it can really be done. It doesn't have to be done specifically on Wayfair. I've definitely heard things about Wayfair and some of their questionable sales that have happened. But as far as it could really happen eBay or something where it's like, not calling out eBay, but like just any resale.
Yeah, any resale. Cause there's,
and they have the coordinates and everything. And yeah, I think
it doesn't take a lot of imagination to go, well, I got to find a marketplace for this, and it's got to be, hidden in plain sight. I could see it. It doesn't. That's not. There's.
I'm sure there's a Reddit sub somewhere that has the exact URL.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you could type in on like subreddits. It could just be a series of numbers, and that could just be a place for people to talk, and it'd be hard to search. Because you can have like private communities and stuff. I could easily see that being a thing, and it probably is. I'd really, if I have the imagination for it, someone else probably does as well. All right,
or on the dark web.
All right, what's
Roll
our
the
next?
Dice.
What's our next question?
3. State of the Union.
Okay, I'm not going to have too much to say about this. So Biden. So what we've learned here with Joe Biden is, and I guess any presidency, let's be fair, that there's a set expectation for you when you do the thing, and the thing is the State of the Union. So you go out, you have your big speech, and everyone kind of speculates, what are you going to say before? What's the topic? How are you going to go about it? So, what's the expectation of Joe Biden? Boy, if he just comes out and doesn't look dead or stumble or quit halfway through, he probably did better than most people thought. Because it's like watching a train wreck. Like if you're trying to watch a train wreck and it doesn't happen, well, okay, I guess train wreck didn't happen. Those people got away, whatever. It's, is it that exciting? No, not really. So when Joe Biden did the bare minimum and go through an entire State of the Union speech without really stumbling too much. There's not a whole lot of gaffes, not a lot of old Joe Biden gaffes. There was probably a couple things where he interacted with the crowd that were unscripted and just didn't make sense, a little tomfoolery in that sense. But okay, did he put on a pretty good speech? Has there ever been a bad State of the Union speech? 'Cause that's the other thing too. Is there really, has anyone really failed at this? Because this is their, if nothing else, their biggest shining moment in the whole political year. Even if you're a recluse as a president or the most outlandish guy in the world, this is your moment. So don't fail on this moment. And I think most places either play it very conservatively and do the speech, go up there, say some things, have the SEALs clap, go over your topics for your campaign. Okay. All right. That's why it's not quite as fun to talk about. This one, I thought would be fun. I thought would, he's got to stay up there for anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half and just go. And we really haven't seen it. Well, I guess we saw it last year, last State of the Union. And does anyone remember anything from that one other than he just didn't fall over and die? That's what everyone thinks. That's going to be the news story. He falls over, he just passes out. Oh, that's a big one. Of course, he's not going to do that. That's your moment. So I don't know. He started off the one thing I found interesting in the State of the Union speech is he started off with Ukraine funding for Ukraine, and I think his exact word. Well, I don't think his exact words. Part of his exact words were, "Well, you don't want a tyrant running over the country," and essentially saying Trump and Putin would run over Ukraine, so you can't let them do that. And then, just about an hour later in that speech, 45 minutes, he talked about how we need to, how Israel has got a right to exist and to do the things it's currently doing right now, which not all positive for those of you and at home paying attention. Not great, Bob. So you say that one, it's hypocritical, but what politician hasn't been hypocritical? Who's been consistent about everything all the time? And don't tell me Trump, because he's not. He's never been. I can't think of really, maybe George Washington. I don't know. But he wasn't around the social media era, so we really don't know. We've never heard every single one of his speeches, so we can't really tell. So I don't know. This one, yeah, I wanted to talk about it, but this one wasn't too. Yeah, I didn't have too much to say about this one because it's just, he didn't die, so there's really not a whole lot to say. What do you think?
So, what about the Marine that shouted, "Remember Abbey Gate," and the police escorted him out, and then I think they arrested him.
They did arrest him
for a misdemeanor.
Yeah,
and charged $50 fine.
But that's not the first time they've that's happened. That's not. We see this, and I think this is just going to become more and more frequent as you someone brings in their guests and they juice them up to go, hey, yell this out loud. This is pure political theater. Does what he's saying make sense? And is it sad? And is the whole thing kind of relatable? Yeah. But also at the same time, can you get the relatable guy to be outlandish to get attention that isn't under his own volition? Absolutely. You can do that. Remember the guy threw his shoe at George Bush?
Yeah.
Nope. He threw both shoes at George Bush.
Yep.
And missed both of them.
He dodged the one.
He did very much dodge the one. And then he just kind of, he was too excited, threw the other one. Yeah. So I think the only one of these I remember, and this wasn't even State of the Union either, is when Trump brought Bill Clinton's sexual abuse accusers out to the first debate. That was great.
Yeah, set the bar pretty high.
That set the bar pretty high. Are we going to see that again? Probably not. So I think too many of these politicians have respect for that, for the debate and the institution. He did not. So he went wild with it. That wonderful. I'd like to see that really, but no one's going to allow that on the State of the Union. Too many people, too many hands in that cookie jar for that to be the reality. So that's about all I got on that one. We got any spicy comments about the State of the Union? Someone calling me out?
Wait. They found Grandpa's medicine that day for the speech.
Yep. But that's not the first time either. We keep saying that, but that's every time he's been like major television event, every debate he's ever done. I'm surprised. There's probably, let's be honest with ourselves here. He's hopped up on something. He's not. We don't take some of these, I don't want to say surprise interviews, with some of these interviews that he's done.
His eyes are pupils.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
His whole
absolutely.
He is.
But he's going to do this every single time he's on camera. So he's not going to fail the next debate. I think Shane Gillis put it, he's Trump's kryptonite. Absolutely. Because he doesn't react. He doesn't play ball. He doesn't give what Trump wants. And I think Hillary tried the same thing, but still, I don't think people really liked. She had zero charisma. At least Joe Biden's got a little bit of charisma. He can do it. Like, remember, would you just shut up? That's funny. That's funny. That worked. Hillary Clinton didn't have that. Hillary Clinton just had the go to my website, see the truth, HillaryTruth.com or whatever it was. That's not charming. And, she's also just not charming in general. She has no charisma.
Yeah,
Joe Biden has more charisma than Hillary Clinton. That's how you know you're a bad candidate. Joe Biden now has more charisma than Hillary Clinton. All right.
Interesting take.
13. Did we just do 13?
Yeah. 8.
8. All right. What's 8?
The future of working. We did not do 8. Okay. The future of working and the rise of AI.
Oh, okay.
Another
Another AI topic generated by the AI machine.
I can expand in a second.
Okay, so future working under AI. Hollywood's got some problems. Oh boy. Yeah, the moment you're able to sit at home and make your own things like easily and like do it like well. So right now we're still learning. Like if you've ever used AI, you kind of have to know how to use it. Like just like searching the internet for the first time, you kind of got to know what you're saying and what you're doing to try to get the result you're going at. And the better you are at using AI, the more cool things you can do with it. So yeah, you can have it, say the last president's speech in the form of a pirate. That's funny. But to get like more complex things, like, well, hey, rewrite Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and make it make sense. That all right, doing that takes a little bit more time and skill to be able to do. And I think as we learn to use this technology, the more we're actually going to be able to harness it and kind of do what we want with it. So where I'm going with this is like art editing, photo editing. So even some people now can manually do it, but there's a cottage industry like we just discussed, like Fiverr, where you can pay someone to do something. So I can pay someone Fiverr to make me look bald and like a screenshot of this show, or I can have them again draw me as a Dragon Ball Z character. Now you can just do that yourself. If we all remember that trend that went on, I think it was actually Instagram and Twitter, not TikTok for once, where you just made yourself in like the pop art thing. That's fun. That's cool. The more you do that, the more you will do that. So where I'm going with this, writing is surprisingly easy using AI. And I can absolutely see the amount of work you can do as like a writer, or and there's all sorts of different jobs that go with writing. It's not just
editing your writing.
Absolutely. That's probably actually a better example. You can just take Chat GPT, edit it. All right, this, maybe pass it through a couple different versions just to catch everything and read over it. But that's it. The time it took one person to edit and look through like a book has now just been cut in half, if not greater. That's a job.
Yeah.
Someone who's doing photo editing on the side for like freelancing for a website. Well, that's a job. That's a couple of jobs. That's a gig economy job. Those are done. When we start seeing like film and video, you have like marketing agencies and people who are specializing in that type of artistic style. I can now do it cheaper and easier via, via AI.
Yeah, clipping.
So now you're in a scenario where there's just like the bell curve of the market. So you're either spitting out a bunch of like you're like Shutterstock, where I'm just making a bunch of these just goofy images. So if you ever look through the catalog of Shutterstock, there's a lot. you'd be hard pressed to not find a photo that fits whatever you're doing, and it can go wild. So you're on that end of the bell curve, or I'm going to make something so specific, so boutique, tailor fit for your needs. There's a market for that. Absolutely, there is. AI is going to basically push both those things to the very far edges. So either you're just a volume dealer, you just know how to use AI better than everyone else. Now you just have a bunch of it out there, so you don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Or you know how to use it so well that I can't match your artistic knowledge with AI art. And now we're starting to see videos and like editing software. So it's a lot of blue collar stuff that's going to come in here. The coding, I think the coding piece, there's still so much complexity that goes into like good code. You can make Flappy Bird. You can go on Chat GPT, make Flappy Bird. You can do it. But you're just copying things. At a certain point, there is derivative. But again, we're going back in the bell curve theory. If you're so good at it, yeah, AI is not going to replace you. Or you're so fast and efficient at it, yeah, AI is not going to replace you. But everyone else in the middle is going to be squeezed, and it's going to happen quick. That's the problem. Or remember, it was I think Alex sent me a picture or a video of like Will Smith eating a cheeseburger or eating spaghetti. That's what it was. That video, and it just looks awful, like out of a horror movie, like just like an acid trip. Now, actually looks pretty good.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, you didn't see that one? Now it's you can see it. There's different versions of the video AI, but the ones now, and it's only been like 2 years.
Yeah.
Like when did Chat GPT become popular? Like a year ago? It felt like a year ago. Maybe like
about
2
a year
years ago. This stuff's evolving at a rapid rate. So it's going to put some people out of work, quite honestly. That's going to be sad. But was it valuable work? Was it great work? No, but it's work nonetheless. If you enjoy being a photo editor, I can't imagine, well, you're being replaced by something that's just an monogamous thing, not even someone who beats it out for you or someone does it cheaper. It's just that. And just what we saw in Hollywood too, the whole writer strike, part of it was better pay for the writers. The other part of it, we don't want AI here. We legally within our contract of the union and the studios, I don't want AI here. I don't want AI pictures of my face. I don't want AI artists coming in here. That's we're protecting those types of jobs, but progress will always find a way to be more efficient than the person. We've seen it all the time. The moment China starts making, China, Japan, I don't know, pick a country, makes a AAA blockbuster movie based nothing on it, just solely on AI, and it looks good, and people you trick yourself to thinking, oh yeah, this looks good. That's it. It's a game changer. And then Hollywood, and it's just going to sink everything. Hollywood's going to change on a dime. Like, oh, we can do this now, and we can do this 10 times better.
Going back to taking the jobs and stuff, I think. So like when different phones came out, going back to like, I don't even know, like when they had operators plugging and playing, you would call an operator and say, hey, can you connect me to Cindy Lou Who over at 3rd Street? And they'd plug you in.
Yep. Nope.
And you'd be talking to a real person. Yep. And now that has been completely, I mean, that's been obliterated for decades,
absolutely. Yeah, that's another great one.
That was a job where people were getting upset over because they couldn't be an operator anymore. And you think about it now, and it's like, what kind of skill set did that person have? Just basic communication skills and knowing how to work a board.
Yeah, but that's or translators is probably another good one. And what's going to be depressing is you have artistic talent, you have skill, you've trained, you spent 10,000 hours perfecting this, and someone can just type it on a computer and honestly do it maybe just a little bit better, or just 99% as good.
Yeah, they could hold the Google Lens over their bag of Doritos from Japan and read it.
Yeah. Or I remember how Ask Chacha.
Yeah. That was a good one.
That's another one that just
242.
Ooh, you remember. Oh boy.
That's
throwback
ABC
to the
keys.
90s babies.
Yeah.
But those types of innocuous jobs will get replaced, and it's only eventually gonna hit the creatives. We're gonna
As long as you have a growth mindset, I don't really see an issue with how much we're progressing, how quickly. Like if you're going to be fixed on this, like, oh, we're losing our jobs and we can't progress we can't keep up with the technology and it's outbeating us, then you just need to change your whole mind state and go into something else. Because if you have the work ethic, it should translate.
So I think part of it, I agree with part of that. There's also the reality that oh boy, I'm featuring all of Gurgat's favorite cast of characters here tonight. Jordan Peterson, he had, before he kind of got a little crazy and snowflakey on Twitter, had this kind of this stand up thing where he talked about how the military doesn't accept everybody. Even if you're fit and able body, if you're below a certain, I think, IQ range, whatever the test is they have for the military, SBAP, if they have that for the military, you're not allowed. So there's, even in a job the government kind of wants you to be in for the sake of national security, there's just no opportunity for you here. So we gotta remember that that's still 10% of society. That's only 10% of the military that comes through, but that 10% of society just can't get a job. And even if they can't get a job, they can still cause problems and are still also at the same time productive. They can do productive things. That's why we have special needs programs. Because there's, people that are doing things tend to live healthier lives. Now, that thing could be art, that thing could be selling lottery tickets. But if you're just kind of sitting at home doing whatever you want to do, I don't think that's not the key to happiness. It's the key to happiness for a very small amount of people, not for a population, not for a country, not for prosperity of the world. That's not how we do that. So eventually we're going to get to the point where, oh boy, where are the jobs? Who are the people? And the less jobs there are, less opportunities there are, the more we devolve into chaos. It really starts becoming the haves and have-nots. That's why I talk all the time about the consolidation of industry, and and part of that is the consolidation of power, because you want to decentralize the power, so that way more people can have shared access to the happiness. So when we take away those things, did it not make sense for the operator to operate anymore? Yeah. Did she eventually do something else? Probably. But we're going to get to a point where where it's like, damn, what am I going to do? I can't, I can't be a data analyst for, Google, because, that's AI. I can't do sales. Well, yeah, sales is a little bit different, but probably there's like an AI can do sales. Well, I can't be a speechwriter. That's just AI. I can't be, it's starting to hit the creatives. And I think that's really going to be a problem. Do we see a spike in depression after a couple of years? AI is just taken over. Oof, man, it's gonna be rough. I don't like being pessimistic on the show. You know this. I hate that. But
right.
that is the one pessimistic thought I do have. Just like, man, the eventually progress is going to eat us whole. We are the snake eating our own tail.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to learn to derive happiness from something else. Do we go back to faith? Oh boy. Remember, well, the conservative talking point where people aren't happy because they no longer believe in like religion or God or whatever one you want to assign yourself to. Because we lose that faith and we're being more agnostic, we don't have any, spiritually, we're not under anything. So we just kind of roam free on what, our sins or happiness of life, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So when we do that, there's sins for a reason, and they're not holier than thou. Eventually, if you have too much of that, it's going to corrupt you. I think religion does the same thing. So that just become the new counterculture? I don't know. Something to think about there for the audience here. We got any comments on this one?
Nope. Zero. There is nobody touching this.
I'm too philosophical for this. All right, let's move on. Let's get another question here.
All right. 15.
All right.
We're at Congress banning TikTok. I think this might be our last.
I think this is probably going to be our last one here, because not only is it relevant and topical, I don't know if I'm going to say anything better than actually Gurgat has. So I'm going to start off with this. If you're on YouTube, go to the video section and look up, is a great "Here's Where I'm At" video. So Gurgat did a wonderful video.
It's not on YouTube.
For the TikTok one.
For the
TikTok. The Shane Gillis one, no, it's not on YouTube. But the TikTok one I know is on YouTube.
Yep.
It's one of the best things he's ever done. But to get us where we start here. So Congress actually has a bill that they're formulating to ban TikTok, or whoever actually owns, like, the Chinese corporate conglomerate that owns TikTok. They can either divest into someone else, or TikTok gets banned in the United States. So I'm gonna probably take the exact same position Gurgat took on this one. It's TikTok's so good, it's because it's a mirror of what we want in ourselves. So you can tell a lot about a person from their For You page. They may not agree with you that that's their true selves, but uh, there's definitely a reason why it's on the For You page. I will agree that the algorithm is very good at keeping you on certain things. So if we like e-girls and big anime titties, that's going to be on your For You page. Absolutely. If you like, oh man, because it's all based on watch time and what you see. So if you like car crashes and you look at car crashes, oh no, I'm not a guy who likes car crashes. You're a guy that watches car crashes.
Yeah.
You're a guy that will sit there and you can't look away. So that's a good one. Cat videos. I like cats. Cats are on my For You page. Also, big anime titties. I'm not gonna lie, it's on there. I look at them and you see them. Yeah, okay. That might be a little too personal here on the internet, but we're gonna roll with it. So it is a mirror of what you are and what you want, and we really like ourselves. Even if you're under severe depression, you still like what you like. So it just shows you what you like constantly, and it's very fast paced, it's very engaging, and it's very addictive, and people really like it.
And you can refresh that. You can refresh it as quickly as your thumb can do anything on your phone.
Yep.
It'll find another TikTok to show you.
Yeah. And I don't like using YouTube or even using like Instagram to an extent. You have some agency in what you want to choose. TikTok, you don't. That's the next one. If you don't like it, go to the next one. Oh, I'm going to watch this more. If I like it, I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to check out who's that. It's a very engaging way of finding new and interesting content, and it is good for things. So one of the things I think the Biden administration doesn't like about TikTok is it's not controlled by the United States. So that's good for showcasing some of the horrors the United States does on other countries, or allows other countries to do. We'll put it that way. Also, at the same time, it's maybe not the best for our mental health. And if you believe in the theory of China's trying to take the United States on, try to break them from the inside, like we talked about, I think last week we had one of those.
Yeah.
That can also be a theory. And what's interesting is that China does things a little bit differently than the way, like, I think the algorithm, it just turned up to 11. All right, whatever you want, keep going, because that's what makes us profitable. But here, since Chinese companies are a bit more nationalized in form of the government, they'll let you, or they kind of control what they want you to see. So is it we're reading philosophical, math, science, technology. Hey, China, Xi Jinping, good guy, not Winnie the Pooh. He's all he's all sorts of good stuff. So I think that's part of the fear, is like, well, how come you're doing things differently than we are? Well, it's just a reflection of your population. Our population doesn't do that. Our population likes reading and mathematics and doing things with computers and science and technology. So that's part of it. And then also let's take a no. You want to say something? Say it. What do you got?
No, I was doing a face.
No, you're just moving. Okay.
But I do want to say something.
Okay, say it.
You can. I was just like perusing around trying to figure out TikTok because I just got it, and you can pay for views.
You can?
Yeah, you can pay per like it gives you a range of like $8.
Is that just sponsoring?
You pay TikTok directly.
Okay.
You can give them like $8 and you'll get like between 600 and 2,000 views for that single day. And then it goes all the way up to like you can pay, I don't know, like $1,000 a day and get like 700,000 or 300,000 views on that video. They will push it out there for people to watch.
Yeah, it just that sounds like sponsored content to me. I think maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't say like sponsored,
Self-sponsored.
Yeah, it's self-sponsored. Yeah, I ooh, that also becomes like a fine line of like what's like because you have to acknowledge like advertising content, but I don't know. You can boosting your own algorithm reach. That plays a fine line. So that might be part of it, but I think the other part of it too, on what they're trying to ban. This is a gift wrap for Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I don't know. Not Vine, obviously, but it's for all of those. If I'm a Facebook executive, hell yeah, I want TikTok to be banned because they're taking away from my mind share. And that is where I see this bill, actually why this bill exists. It's not because of the national security risk. It's not because China's trying to take over the United States. It's because Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are scared. They're scared. They've had a monopoly on social media platforms for basically since once MySpace kind of went under.
Yep.
It's pretty much it. And then Twitter was essentially the last one, the last social media platform to be big and stay big. And that's it. They basically just been circle jerking each other. Like, well, this year Facebook's pretty big because they went in India and everyone on India uses Facebook. Well, Twitter's great in the United States and eventually China's going to, or I guess Japan's really going to start using it. So that's one thing. But then a newcomer comes in and all of a sudden, oh my God, they're taking all sorts of that mind share. So they're scared. They don't want to lose that mind share. So that's really just gross, hypocritical nonsense from these large multinational corporations that are controlling what we see more than TikTok actually does. Now, what I think would come good of this, you as a consumer should be able to reset your algorithm at any point in time.
That'd be nice.
You just reset it. It's like, oh, well, I'm seeing too many half-naked women on the internet. I need to tone this down. Reset. And now it's just, I don't know,
randomness.
Random, but whatever's popular to new users. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then you pick and choose what you want to do. Every single one should be able to do that. Or make the algorithms open source. So everyone gets to see how this bad boy works. So I think it's transparency that we're all worried about. If any of you play the YouTube game long enough, you're chasing the algorithm. You want the algorithm to come to you. You're trying to game it, and it's this mythical thing that constantly changes. And to understand, and I agree on some point, like why YouTube doesn't want everyone to know how their algorithm works, because then you'll just game it. You'll just do a bunch of stupid shit, and it's not quality. So what they're trying to do is find quality, but at the end of what the negative side of that is, you could be quality, but it's not what YouTube thinks it's quality. So you're elevating one to depress another, because there's only so many hours in the day to watch stuff. Even if you sit there and do 24 hours of watching whatever, you're only hitting like 2 minutes of upload time on YouTube. So it's weird, it's wild, and it's damn. Don't ban TikTok. I don't like TikTok. I'm an American. I use Instagram Reels, but don't ban it just because they're banning it because they're afraid, not because it's any sort of national security risk. Do you agree or disagree?
I definitely agree they should not ban TikTok. Not because I'm addicted, because I just joined. But I think there are definitely videos on TikTok that you cannot find on any other platform. And
I agree with that.
not that they don't ban certain videos, but they have definitely a lot more leniency on what is out there. I also don't know, like, they don't have like every single video that has ever existed, but like they do have plenty of things that are very unique and exclusive.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool stuff on there. There's it does have good. It does, but with the ease of access of information for good things also means the ease of access for information on bad things. The Kia boys, people got their Kia stolen because TikTok sent it through their algorithm. I don't think they depress anything outside of like actual nudity and hardcore pornography. So
You go to Twitter for that.
yeah. Which the only we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop. I'm showing my cards here too much.
Yeah.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, good people of the internet, if we made you laugh, if we made you cry, if we made you rethink, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment. Actually, comment before we do any of those. Comment, ask questions, be involved. That's why we have this show. That's why we're here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Whether or not we just have one guest, two guests, a whole couch, peanut gallery, or if Gurgat is not going to be here anymore, we'll see. But anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating. Go find us on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter. I think we're live on Twitter. I should know this. I'm hosting. We're on there.
Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah, and
Twitch.
Sunday you got that like 9 a.m. show.
Yes.
The reactions channel.
Yes.
A lot of curated videos and some cool things on there. Also, watch. Here's where I'm at. That's some good shit. That's actually some of the best stuff we do here. Go watch that. That's man. He really puts a lot of time and effort into that. The newest one, Shane Gillis. I don't know if I agree with that. That wasn't my favorite, but
I liked it.
Yeah. You know, anyway. Find that on Rumble because it's only on Rumble.
Everything is
right
also on rethinkpodcast.com.
Oh yeah, that's right. Rethinkpodcast.com. You want to go into
podcast.
what's the Webiverse? Website?
I got it on the bottom.
You got it on the bottom. All right, go there. Comment. Because we had one of our suggestions came from just that location. So if you want to be more engaged with the conversation,
go to the Neuro Gym.
Go to the Neuro Gym. That's what it's called. Oh boy, that's embarrassing. But anyway, I appreciate you joining us here tonight, and I think that's all we got here tonight.
That's all we got.
We might try this again. I thought this was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m. live right here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.